Hey, this is Bryan Jones. I am the Senior Vice President of Global Revenue, Field, and Partner Marketing for Cisco Systems, and I am here to take you into Tech Unscripted Season 2, where we get into the weeds of what is happening in the tech space, no hype, the real of what is happening. And today we have Simon with us, who is going to introduce himself here in a second, but we are really excited to have everybody, no buzzwords, really connected up. How you doing, Simon?
Nice to meet
Introduce
you.
yourself, please.
Thanks for having me. My name is Simon. I'm the head of IT and operations for Samsoe Samsoe. Sometimes I go as an IT director. People know me as the person who helps with everything that's connected into a power outlet. So thanks for having me.
Oh, I
really
love
looking
that.
forward.
Tell us a little bit about Samsoe Samsoe as a brand and as a company, and really what your role is there.
Yeah. So Samsoe Samsoe is a brand we formed in 1993 by the Samsoe brothers. They've started with jewelry and then kind of built on the brand with hilarious t-shirt, as we were known back in the day. They were taking Coca-Cola t-shirts and misprinting it, putting some funny memes for the day, I guess. And then throughout the years, around 2000, they've sold on their business into our current owner, Peter Sextus. And of course, the brand has shifted since, but in our core, we still have the Scandinavian values and also like our way of styling our customers. My role in the company, essentially, I'm responsible for operations, I'm responsible for security, responsible for network infrastructure, and playing with all the cool tech.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, so one of the biggest changes that's happening in the retail space right now is the adoption of AI. And how do you connect that up? And I think one of the things I'm really excited about with your brand is you've got this great online presence, but you really want people to come into the store and
Yes.
that connected piece there, right? So when you think about technology, you think about AI, and the thread that kind of weaves through that online presence and the brick and mortar. Talk a little bit about how you think about technology and how you think about your customer there.
Yeah, I think I'll kind of like take a step back, to get how we got to the whole journey. About 5 years ago, I joined the company, and then essentially like we were looking at what is out there, what is, how do we scale this business, how do we grow it, and how do we replicate our success in the past. So one of the main goals for us was basically to become like a cloud-first company. That was my vision. It's scalar, modular, and then work with our partners around that. So through the years, of course, we've been partners with Cisco for many years. I've worked with Cisco the last 20 years myself. And we've been kind of on a mission to revolutionize the retail space. Because we want to understand, who are we physically meeting in our shops. Obviously, we have a 3-pillar business. We operate a wholesale business. We have about 1,600 customers, B2B customers. We have our omni-channels. But we have our own physical retail. We operate around Europe in quite a few locations. And those locations are very key to us because we would love to bring customers in stores in times where obviously business is online. Right. And we think we provide, like all the value-added services that one might need. We can shorten pants, we can steam your code in and provide all these nice values to the business.
Yeah, and connect with the customer.
Exactly, connect to the customer.
Oh.
Yeah.
So let's do a little lightning round here. So one word, how would you describe AI in retail right now?
I would say revolutionary.
Ah, nice, I love that. And so AI excites you more or worries you more?
It excites me. It gives a new opportunity. I think, of course, as anything new, it's a scary word,
Sure.
Misused in the wrong hands, maybe it's a scary thing, but used in the right way, I think it enables business. And I think more businesses are looking forward to in that direction. I know that some businesses are maybe into a transitional phase. They're basically kind of in this cross path. Do we go AI? When do we go AI? Of course, we believe that, we want to be one of the first pioneers into the matter.
Right.
So it's very important for us.
No, that's great. So when you think about in-store versus online, where do you see the most opportunity for AI right now?
So when it comes to like in-store, one of the challenges when you're running physical retail is understanding what type of customer do you have in the store. And we've kind of pioneered this with Cisco and with their connected partners in their platforms. For the last 3.5 years, we've been running advanced models for computational customer demography. Okay. With the cameras and with the third party called Every Angle. So what we kind of like found out is that now we're able to see who's physically in the store. And it's completely anonymous in the sense that we don't tie you to an individual person.
Right.
It's more about the data. If I kind of step back, is how we do business. Back in the day, we used to say that 80% of our stores are styled as female, 20% of our stores are styled as men. And we would adjust that number based on transactional sales. But let's say you and I, we walk into a store, we take a look around, maybe that particular store doesn't have enough men's concept.
Right.
We walk out. We wouldn't understand, why do we have high footfall, but we don't have a turnover. So then we'll start looking in different directions and trying to kind of fill that gap. But in the end of the day, we missed out the chance that it was two males that walked into the store.
Right.
So I always give an example, and we had kind of like a customer success story with Cisco around 2 years ago. We were discussing about a flagship store in Munich. We opened up in Munich, and then within the first 3 weeks, we realized that Munich actually is more of a 50-50 split.
Okay.
We were able to restyle the store, and within the first 3 months, we could see about 5.4% increase on the bottom line of men's sales. So again, using technology to enable understanding our customers. Obviously for us, it gives us extra revenue, but it also provides, for the men that would like to find a piece for themselves in our shops.
So I think one of the biggest challenges that we see in the AI space right now is the landscape is littered with AI pilots.
Full, yes.
Right? So when you think about your organization and how you're exploring AI in the retail space, what do you think about first? How do you kind of connect that up with the business? Tell us a little bit about, how you think about that with the business.
So when I think about AI, is obviously like how can it fill the gaps where we have lack of knowledge, resource, and other projects. For us, AI is, kind of this, not a buzzword, not anymore. Back in the day, I would say it was a buzzword, but for us, we are running our Power BI cubes with AI agents. So we're able to have predictive data, sales data based on weather, sales data based on temperature, sales data based on camera input, sensor input. So all of this is basically like ran by AI agents on top of our Power BI cube. We're looking into Microsoft Fabrics because we've kind of explored the maximum potential of what our data warehouse is capable of doing with AI agents and Power BI.
That's really cool. I think, when you look at the biggest opportunities and challenges as you look out, say 3 to 5 years, you've got such a cool brand and it's based in streetwear, but really with a Scandinavian, like uniqueness to it. And the people that you're getting to come into the stores and come online are a unique buyer set, and they expect a lot, right?
Yes.
So what do you see out? Like what's the 3-year plan? What's the 5-year plan? Where do you think that's going?
So we are doubling down on in-store experience. That is very important to us. And we want to meet the customers physically. We want to help you. We want to address you. And then we want to understand you as a customer. What are your needs? So this is something that we're really, really kind of pushing on. We're leveraging technology in that stack. So I think before the podcast started, we kind of touched upon a little bit about temperature in stores. This is also a factor that a simple sensor, as the Cisco Meraki MT sensors, that is a €150 sensor, can actually tell us a lot of data about the store and the location. If air conditioning is not working, then obviously we have temperatures inside the store that, you've been in a cold store. You kind of grab it off the shelf, you walk out, maybe it's your size, maybe it's your style, maybe it's not. Then obviously if it's not, you come back to the store, you do a return. It's kind of like a bad experience for you. Obviously loss of revenue for us. Likewise the other way around. You've been into, let's say, hot countries. You just walk in, you grab something, you're sweating, you don't want to wait in front of a dressing room, walk out, same scenario. And in these scenarios, we're actually able to see just with a simple sensor, like the temperature was off. Then we can go back to the retail store and say, okay, was the door open? Was the AC running?
Sure.
So.
Yeah, no, I think one of the other things that you and I were talking about before we sat down was some unique things that you're doing around cost containment and contracts and negotiating, that space. Because retail margin is a challenge, right?
It's a challenge.
Every dollar that you can save and everything that technology can help you claw back goes to the bottom line.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So I'll start first about like our position where in retail we are kind of standing. Obviously, we're not in the fast fashion industry, so our stores are anywhere between 150 to 300 square meters. That's kind of our sweet spot.
Okay.
We want to be on high streets, So obviously the rents are very expensive.
Yeah, certainly.
Negotiation is crude. Sometimes, you lose out the contract because somebody overpays, even though you have a contract signed. It happens all the time. So one of the things is when we are kind of securing the location, we want to make sure that that location is what the landlord is presenting it to be. So if we kind of put it into let's say, role play, if you are the landlord, I come to you and I say, hey, I would love this store location. It looks really nice. Let's start negotiation. What is the footfall on this particular street?
Right.
You get back to me and you say, okay, on this street, I promise you there's going to be 10,000 people footfall every day.
Right.
So what we do is, of course, we'll take your word for it. But in 3 years, 5 years down the line, we have data to kind of back up or maybe kind of sit down with you and say, okay, that's not exactly like what we discussed. So we're pulling this data based on Google. So Google Street obviously is one of the enablers for us, but we also have Cisco Meraki access points. They're always facing the streets. They have BLE, passers-by. It's one of those niche use cases that everybody's laughing about, like heat mapping in Meraki. It's a feature that not a lot of people know about, not a lot of people use anymore.
Right.
But what we're doing with it, essentially, we're pulling like the data from the access points based on the BLE passers-by, combining that with Google Street data, and then putting that into our Power BI cube, where we are basically generating like what is the rent, how much people do we have in that specific day, what is the weather, and everything else. And then based on AI agents, we're able to say, okay, this location is profitable. And by having this data and having this data entry points, we're able to see also shifting in data. So say that we have a location in one of the capitals in Europe, and then all of a sudden we start seeing like drastic footfall. Then, we start asking questions. Is it maybe our store? Obviously, we'll first start looking into the store.
Right.
Is it something that we have in the store that is not bringing in customers? Is it maybe like the store staff that is the problem? But when we start seeing like drastic footfall based on telemetry from our Meraki access points, then, we can easily like talk to the store, hey, what is happening in the... Most of the times, let's say they start building a new metro station down the street, and they close up the street. So obviously that messes up the whole street flow. People start going in side streets, and all of a sudden the location that was perfect becomes a location that is no longer profitable. So these are the scenarios where, like we can catch that in early stages, and then we can say, okay, listen, Bryan, like it's not what exactly it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, so definitely an asymmetric way of thinking about the technology and how you connect that stuff up. So when you think about the technology, and obviously you're very integrated into the business, which is, I think, just a competitive advantage for our customers that are really combining technology in the business, and business outcomes. The tech side of it is part of the equation, but the other side is also cultural. Like, how do you get the culture and the tech to come together? How does that work for you guys, and what does that mean for you?
So one of the cool things about it is, and hopefully one day you can come and visit our office, is we have a very flat organization, meaning that we sit with our CEO on the same floor.
Oh, that's cool.
In Scandinavia and Nordics, like we don't have these cubicles, we don't have these, presidential offices and SIR and so on, and SVPs behind us. So it's very kind of like flat structure. So when we're taking decisions, we go into a management group. We present like, okay, this is the problem, this is the solution, these are the 3 options, and then we kind of like take a decision internally. It involves pretty much everybody in the organization.
Right.
So head of retail, head of IT, finance, and then basically we kind of like run the project. When we're doing these projects, and a lot of organizations that I've talked, and they've kind of asked me like, how can we do your success? And what I've noticed is in bigger organizations, more siloed. And that of course presents an issue, because let's say that I'm sitting on top of 4 different roles. For me, it's easier to understand infrastructure, IoT, and everything else, and I can take the decision for both. But if we're 2 separate people, you're, let's say, head of security, I'm head of IoT, and then business comes to us and let's say we want to do people counting. You have a preferred partner for your part because you only focus on CCTV.
Sure.
I have a preferred partner because I want to capture data from those cameras. I'm not interested in the CCTV. We can't agree on brand. Obviously, that hurts the business.
And it slows things down.
It slows things down. So.
And in retail, speed is a really critical.
You really need to adapt these days. It's a very rough market, especially now with a lot of things happening in the world. Like small decisions can really tip the scales. So you need to be agile. And one of my missions, I think the last 5 years that I've been talking about in a lot of other interviews and kind of like forums is I am on a mission to show that IT is no longer a cost center. We can bring back on the table. We can definitely back up our hardware investments.
Right.
And I think at least for our organizations, and I can see it more and more in other organizations, is that we work hand in hand. We're no longer just business and IT units. We work together. Obviously, business benefits from what we can provide them. We get to play with cool tech. That's kind of like our philosophy behind it, my philosophy.
No, that's great. I think one of the things that is part of the hype around AI that we really don't subscribe to is that it's going to take over a ton of jobs. We do think that it's going to take over mundane parts of jobs and then free up people to do really more interesting stuff, more impactful stuff. When you think about the sales associates, the people in the store, your merchandisers, upward into your supply chain, how do you think about that, and where are you seeing some of those trends?
So I can tell you, like when we started about 3.5 years ago with customer demography, right? There was this big talk that, now we're not going to have, let's say, visual merchandisers and all these things. But to be honest, this was more data that we need to consume. And there has to be somebody behind that needs to look at that data.
Right.
Yes, we can have AI agents. Yes, we can pre-process. We can give like forecasts and everything like that. But in the end of the day, there still needs to be a person on top, taking a decision, rationalizing like, okay, is the output of this AI agent actually something that matches our strategy, our business? Because one of the key things about like AI is, yes, it can help you like with quick tasks, but it doesn't understand our identity as a brand. It doesn't understand our roadmap, for now at least.
Right.
So those are a lot of things that you have to take in consideration when you're like empowering AI into an organization.
Yeah, no, I think retail, and especially what you guys do and the products that you have and the brand that you've built is a combination of the science of technology and that capability, but there's a ton of art in that. Like, how do you pick this over that? Which one's going to be more popular? What's going to drive more revenue?
Exactly. That's one of the things that it always fascinates me when I'm sitting with our designers is like, let's say in the IT world, we kind of know the roadmap, the big buzzword.
Sure.
But how do you know? Is it going to be stripes? Is it going to be patterns? Is it going to be solid colors? Especially like we have a daughter brand called Envy, and they tend to still do logos and everything. You never really know, like, is it going to end up on a TikTok and it's going to pick up and then all of a sudden it's going to be crazy sale revenue, or it's going to be a total flop. So kind of like, what is the roadmap? Is it like 15 months out you need to think about how you're designing clothes? Is it like 24 months out?
Right.
Or do you need to bring it in shorter? Obviously you have, from designing, pre-production, sending sample units back, essentially like every other, organization, you need to cut the lead times.
Right.
You still need to mass produce it. You still need to do the whole shipping logistics. Then, something comes up, ships are stuck in canals and all that. So you need to account for that. So.
Yeah, no. So when you think about ROI, one of the things, the example around the rent and the footfall and, are you getting what you paid for? That's an ROI piece. How do you think about ROI in the retail space, especially as you've introduced AI and these agents and this new set of capabilities? Agents don't cost a lot on a daily basis, but they cost a lot to build.
Exactly. So I think in terms of like an interesting ROI, is our Cisco Meraki cameras. If we step back and we think about CCTV cameras as a IT responsible, I would say traditional CCTV is 5 to 7 years dead technology investment.
Right.
You buy it, you put it, you forget about it, you only use it when you need it. Today, I can return the investment in 3 to 4 months depending on the location.
Wow.
So it's much easier for me to go to a CEO, CFO, say, hey, I need cameras. To the point that actually, like, we have now a standard package in our store built sheet with all the contents in, cameras included, access points and everything else. Same thing with what we do. We started deploying Wi-Fi 7 in our shops. We have currently 7 locations with Wi-Fi 7 and we're moving in that direction because we want to start leveraging the data that the access point can provide us. And in particular is the newly 9176 access point and 78s, they utilize ultra-wide band technology in them.
Right.
So we're able to leverage that technology in our retail locations. So when I put that value back into the business, I'm able to have nicer APs, totally overkill for small retail locations.
Right, sure.
But the data that they provide me pays back for the technology.
Right, so it's not an overkill. Again, an asymmetric way to think about the technology that's developed there. So wrapping up, kind of the future store vision? Like, where do you want to go? Where do you think about, man, I really would love for us to be able to do this with technology to connect with that customer in brick and mortar and out in the online world too?
So I think for me, I'll take it as a two-part question.
Yeah, please.
So for me is I want to build the perfect connected store. What does that mean in my head?
Let's hear that. That sounds awesome.
You know, a lot of times in all businesses, we struggle with the same thing. We have a lot of vendors. A lot of vendors are kind of like governing their technology. They don't want to talk with the vendor across the table. And that's a problem. At any given time, you know, in the retail locations, we have anywhere between 15 to 20 different vendors. We have RFID partners, we have POS providers, we have, let's say, network provider, we have camera providers, and so on. The problem with all these providers is that they're good at their individual part, but when you want to connect them together, it presents a challenge. So a lot of the times, you know, they're stuck in legacy operations with, let's say, people counting with flat files. So you exchange an XML file with the data every 5 minutes on an FTP server and all these complexities behind it. So I've been on a vision to kind of like make these stores connected, make these companies work together. And the next retailer, small, big, doesn't really matter, can have the stack right out of the box. You know, exchanging the logos on the websites, meaning native integration, API calls. So this is kind of like my vision for the stores. For our specific cases, what I want to do with our stores is I want to make them even more smarter. So what we are looking into is like smart dressing rooms, meaning that, you know, when you go into a dressing room, we have RFID in our care labels. So the moment you place in the goods inside the dressing room, you can see what you have in with you. You can request size up, size down, different style. If you want to randomize the look, or if you want us to suggest the look for you, basically like use the iPad in the dressing room, request what you need, and then basically we'll be able to provide you with that.
Yeah, that's really cool because your demographic is always rotating and changing and evolving.
Exactly.
Right, and so their expectation around technology is also evolving.
Exactly, the experience is all about the experience.
Right.
So.
No, that's really cool. Simon, amazing stuff. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you would like to just kind of end on as you think about technology and AI in the retail space? And is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to cover?
I think we've covered pretty much everything. I would just kind of say like, be bold, be brave, and experiment. You know, like use the partners that you have, reach out. You know, don't be scared of the POC. You know, like when you do the POC, basically like try it out, present it to your business. That's kind of been my success behind it. Is, you know, a lot of the times when you have to take decisions, it's a lot of people involved, and then you present it to the business on Power BI or on slides, and then it doesn't really capture their interest. What I tend to do is I take the technology, I run it as a POC with live data. 3 months down the line, I sit with all the stakeholders, I present our data that we have captured in our own retail locations, and then make that a successful story to the point where they're like, wow, where did we get that data from? So I've kind of like, I would recommend try out.
So you give your business partners the ability to just come along on the journey and make an easy decision based on your own data.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Take care.
Cheers.
Hey, thank you for joining us. Make sure you tune in for more of Series 2 of Tech Unscripted.